7. Where's that? That's in Citrus Heights. So if you're in Citrus Heights, chances are I'll probably be on your ballot. I would love to have your vote. That would be a great honor. What do I stand for? Some of the basic things I stand for are parental rights. I think last few years, I think many people would agree that parents have been, very disapproving of the things that have happened, the lockdowns, the maskings, the requirements. The last several years we've seen political ideologies just come through and what's being taught in the schools, and I'm really uncomfortable with that. So what I want to do is to want to make sure that the schools are controlled as much as possible by the parents, so that you as a parent would have as much control as possible over what's going on in your classroom. That's really what I want to do in terms of get back to academics. Enough of the politics in our schools, of all of these different ideologies coming through. We don't need any of that with our kids. You can do that on your own time to teach your kid what you believe, and I can do that with my kid. I don't need somebody else doing that to my child, because we're all different. We believe in different things, and we don't need our schools to be teaching on those things. In regards to medical procedures, maskings, vaccines, that should be up to each individual family. Each parent should be able to decide what's good for their kid, and we don't need some kind of bureaucrat, deciding what's best for my family, for my child's health, because it's not a one-size-fits-all thing. So those are some of the basic things I believe. That's why I'm running for school board, because I think they don't really care too much about these things that I believe in. So yeah. What other questions you guys have?
Ladies first.
Oh.
Well, someone take the spot.
Oh, okay. I had a quick question, a very simple question, but how can we help you in any way? Like, what are some great examples of ways that we can help promote you?
You might know somebody living in Citrus Heights. Citrus Heights is not a huge place. Sac County is big. If you know someone in Citrus Heights, please share my website with them. That's voteoleg.com, or find me on Instagram or Facebook. Look me up, Oleg Shishko. Share that to them. That's the best thing you can do, is to let them know, hey, there's this guy running for school board in that area, because school boards, it's a tough race, but the margin there for the vote to win could be just a few dozen votes, tens of votes, or there's not a lot there, so you can do something. So in terms of, if you know someone in Citrus, let them know that I'm running for school board.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah.
Question. So all the studies are coming out in California, and our rankings in regards to reading proficiency, math proficiency in all 50 states, and we are, if not last, close to last. Why do you think that currently is, and what would your ideas be to maybe turn this around a little bit in regards to curriculums?
Yeah, curriculum, we need transparency. So we need to know, as a parent, it shouldn't be a hard thing to know what's being taught in my classroom. Don't need to go through all these loopholes to find out. Sorry. So what can we do there is, sorry, I lost my train of thought there. So first of all, yeah, we need transparency, and as a parent, you need to know. It shouldn't be hard to find out what's going on in the classroom. The other thing is, in terms of teachers' unions and our teachers themselves, it takes a lot to become a teacher. It's a hard thing to do, right? It's not easy. But what we need, I think we need more merit-based approach in terms of teaching. Like, if we have low-performing teachers, let me put it another way. High-performing teachers, there needs to be incentives. It shouldn't be only by, X amount of 20 years you've been a teacher. That's how you kind of go up, just by how many years you spend in the school. So I'm in favor of those approaches of being more merit-based in terms of, for the teachers. The ones that excel, that are really good in teaching, those things need to be like, hey, you're doing very well. Let everybody learn from you because you're doing it really well. Another aspect, I think, in terms of we need to refocus ourselves on academics. So we don't need in our schools to teach our kids about different values and ethics. Those are super important. But what I'm saying is, I don't trust our government in doing those things. I think if we have our government start teaching morality, different ethics, that can turn bad. Because, you know, hey, if so in terms of the ethics and, you know, academics, schools can focus on academics. I, as a parent, will teach my child what's right and wrong. You know, my understanding of, you know, how to live this life could be different from yours, or, you know, we're super diverse in our area. You know, we have different beliefs, different religious beliefs, and you can't start teaching those things in schools, right? Because if we're all about inclusivity and diversity, then let's do it that way. Some of these ideologies are just incompatible. So to answer your question, refocus on academics and get rid of all the fluff, all the political stuff, all of these, you know, have your family, yourself, nonprofits, let's hash it all out in the public sphere somewhere else, not with our kids. Our kids are forming, let them learn the basics. That's what I believe. So those things are important, just you keep them out of schools. Yeah.
Right now, there seems to be a lot of the education and the government control. As far as, I think a lot of the financing has followed the schools and the teachers' unions. Do you support the money following the child as a contrast and maybe a source for parents to be more in control of and have more options for their children's education?
Yeah, so absolutely. So I don't know if you guys heard on the audio there, if you guys heard the question, just kind of rephrase it. Do I support, you know, the money following the child? Absolutely. You know, one of the things, here's something interesting I heard during one of the meetings that I absolutely agree with. I think we would all agree that we need more parental involvement. Unfortunately, sometimes not all parents are as equally, you know, interested, or, you know, going to schools and trying to talk to the parents and, hey, what do I do? But what's the best way to get more parents involved is like, well, if you give the parent, like, hey, this money follows your child, many more parents will be much more involved in the education of their children. But yeah, to answer that question, absolutely. You know, this is, bottom line is, whose children are these? You know, are these the government's? Like, hey, if these are the government's children, then, you know, they should decide what you know, where the money should follow. But no, that's not the case. They're my children, so I get to decide what way they should go. If I want to teach them a certain way, that's my prerogative. So I should be able to take that money and teach them, you know, exact same way. And the question you asked before is, how do we kind of, I guess, bring, you know, school scores have been going down, and what do we do with that? Another aspect is kind of tied into this, is if you bring in more competition. Like, you know, if there's a monopoly on something, it's common knowledge, it's pretty, you know, everybody would agree that prices would go up and quality would probably come down if there's a monopoly of something. So, and not everybody can afford, you know, private schools and stuff like that. So if we're doing this way, then let the money follow the kids. We need more competition. We need to, you know, because if there's more competition, if our school district sees that other kids are leaving to the other places, then they'll be forced to kind of look into, hey, what are those guys doing? Why are they more efficient? Why are they, you know, why are their kids doing better? So it'll just force that competition, what we see in the private sector. So that's what we need to do, is let the money follow the kids, primarily because it's just a moral issue. It's like, these are not, you know, these are my kids. I get to decide how they're being educated. So I should be the final kind of say on that. And then just on an economic, just academic kind of way, it'll force more efficiency and force the schools to just perform better, to teach better, because, you know, that's my answer there. Yeah. Hey, thank you.
Perfect.
What are your thoughts on gifted academic programs versus more one-size-fits-all, everybody goes into the same curriculum? Are you in favor of some people clearly test higher, therefore we should have these programs for gifted students and be able to send them on a track that might potentially lead to inequities in regards to education, but it doesn't hold back the kids that are clearly potentially feeling like they are already learning this stuff and they could benefit from going to a more higher level of education?
Yeah.
Are you in favor of gifted school programs, even though it may lead to school inequities in regards to teaching?
Like, so if it's one size fits all, or different types of programs, definitely the different programs versus, I mean, it's definitely not one size fits all. Like my kids, he's only 3.5, but he knows the alphabet in 2 languages, English and Russian. He's almost reading already. He knows the numbers up until a lot there. So we feel like he's gifted. He knows a lot. So I want to be able to, I'm the most interested in his education. So I want to make sure I put him into something that's going to challenge him. And if there's another program instead that won't challenge him, I don't want that. I want something that will propel him. So I guess to answer your question, it shouldn't be a one-size-fits-all. So that's where, if you bring the control back to the parents, they will see best which program to put them in. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, it's mainly, do you believe in equality of opportunity or equality of outcome?
Oh yeah, opportunity for sure. And then there's no way to put in, give everybody the same outcome, because you'll put in more time, I won't put in the time, and that won't be fair if we get all the same outcome. So it should be more merit-based, definitely opportunity, not
Say for instance, 2 parents can have 3 kids and all the same factors going into their child rearing, and you'll have vastly different outcomes, even though all the same factors plugged in for all 3 kids were the same. Same thing with schools, right? It's one of those ones. Just give them the opportunity to grow,
exactly,
versus trying to force them into the box of, again, equitable outcomes, which is cutting the tall grass.
Absolutely,
so to speak.
for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Anything else?
I know earlier we discussed on the concern of medical.
Yeah, that's what I was asking you about. So, for instance, if local areas, say California Department of Public Health, makes a recommendation to the school board of, COVID vaccines or masking, so do you believe, though, that it's up to the families themselves to make that choice for their children?
Absolutely. My view of government as a whole, what is the role of government? It should be very limited, and unfortunately these days government is almost in every sphere of our lives, and that's a problem. So government shouldn't be dictating, hey, you should do this, and especially injecting yourself or your child with something. I mean, they might honestly believe that it's better for you, but that's not the question. That's not their role, I believe. So that definitely should be up to the families. Furthermore, if I should comment, if it's a recommendation, leave it at that. Let them recommend what they want to recommend, and it's up to them, I think, to be more persuasive, be more transparent. What I think with this whole COVID thing, I was very skeptical of all of their announcements. So they didn't do a very good job at being transparent, at being persuasive. So there were some very good questions being asked, and they weren't answered very well. They should have done a better job answering those questions. Like, look, if you want to get people vaccinated, answer my questions, because I have valid concerns. So I don't think that was done very, very well from their side. So their role, please recommend all you want, but you need to persuade me to do that. You can't force me to do those things. So, and even my view is that, let's say it's not a recommendation. Let's say it is like some kind of law, or you have to do this. I believe that if I get elected in this position, that my role is to protect my constituents or my school district from the overreach of higher branches of government. So that would be my role, to find ways to either delay or to say no to them. Because these are our kids, and you don't get to tell me what to do with my children. And same go, I don't get to tell you what to do with your children, right? So I would love to try to persuade you guys to do one thing or the other, right? But that's all I'll be able to do, is just to talk to you guys. To bring force into the equation is wrong. I believe it's immoral. It's absolutely wrong. So yeah.
I agree.
What do you think the track record of the school board was in the 2 years previously, leading up to now? Would you say it was a net positive for the children? And if so, what do you think went wrong?
Yeah, I mean, my kids aren't in the schools yet, so I wasn't like super involved as perhaps you guys were, because your kids are in the schools. I was just, I guess, watching from, you know, seeing the news and things like that. So in that side, I would still say no. And from what I talked to you guys, you know, from what I heard from you, I would say that was not positive, because, you know, schools were shut down. The decisions that were made, you know, kids were supposed to mask up, and I know I would be comfortable doing that to my kids. If, you know, I understand perhaps in the very beginning stage of the pandemic, or whatever you call it, the lockdowns, when nobody knows anything. But after like a year, after 2 years, this is just what was done is just indefensible. I feel like, you know, no, that things like that should be left up to the parents. Look, if you feel like there's an inherent danger, and you want your kid to put on a mask, that's up to you. That's up to you. You know, but you're welcome to try to persuade me to do that, and let's have a conversation about that. But you can't force me to do that, and you can't force my child to do that. So, does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what is your opinion with school choice? So for example, let's be positive about this. If you do win, hopefully you do, and a charter school wanted to try to petition in your school district, how would you feel about that?
I would be open to it. I do understand, you know, from the other side that, hey, another school's going to be open and more money is going to, say, go there. That's not going to go to the rest of the district. I'm not blind to that. I get it, you know. But that's a concern for sure that the other side has. That's, I'm not sure, I'm not going to deny that, right? But the bigger question, I think, is, again, whose children are they? And they're your children. They're my children. You have to have a say if you want to send them to that charter school or to the public school. That should be up to you. So even though the realities of, you know, more money's going to be going away, I get that. But that's not the question. The question is, who is in charge of the education of the kids? Some bureaucrat somewhere who's going to say no to, you know, more competition because, you know, they're going to lose the money that's going to come to them from the federal and state governments. So I would vote yes on charters, on any other choices that might come our way. I know there was a charter school that was trying to open up in Citrus Heights. They were denied by the school board, by San Juan. Then they had to appeal that, I think, to the county level. It went through. So last I heard, it's in the works to try to open one up. So they shouldn't have to go through all these different hoops to try to open up. So yeah. So I'm definitely open to choice because it's morally right to. It's immoral, I would say. It's wrong to kind of stifle, just to put barriers, artificial barriers, to having somebody else or more competition come into this area.
Perfect. Thank you.
One last question, if it hasn't been already asked, your thoughts on blurring gender lines when it comes to children's sports?
Yeah, so blurring gender lines, how should I you know, boys are boys, and what is that? How do you define that? It's what are boys, what are girls? I think it's on the biological level. So if you're born a male, this is your, you know, area. If you're born a female, this is your area. So I don't agree with, you know, the blurring of the gender lines, and I don't agree with the, you know, letting biological males compete in female sports. I think that's wrong, and that opens up the door to a lot of dangerous things, which, and
opens
you know,
the door to bathrooms as well.
Exactly right. So that opens up, like, I don't have
rooms.
I have two boys, right? I don't have a girl, but let's say I would have a girl. I would feel very uncomfortable knowing that, hey, she's going to a school where this is happening, where biological males are, you know, in the same locker rooms or whatever, all that, you know, I would be very uncomfortable. So I would see ways to try to, you know, not do that. So yeah.
Good. As a wrap up, where can we see you next? Where will you be speaking next? How can we support you again, just for touch point?
Yeah, I don't have any speaking engagements set up yet. We're working with, I think, Tanya Kravchuk to try to set up meet and greet on one of the locations. So I'll be putting that out if it comes out, if we are able to make something work. But you can visit my website. I have a Facebook page, my personal Instagram. You can check those. I link to those on my website. That's voteoleg.com, voteoleg.com. So find me there, write to me. Would appreciate your support. Again, I know there's a lot of people that live outside of my area, but you might know people in Citrus Heights. Let them know. You can share some of the content I have or share my website on your social media. You probably have friends that know others or are in Citrus Heights. So that would be great. So, and do support all the other candidates that are running as well with a similar worldview. I know for sure Tanya Kravchuk, I would support her a lot. I know she has a chunk of Citrus Heights and then Orangevale as well. She's a really good candidate. Look into all the other ones as well. So, because if it's just me who gets elected, then I still won't be able to do anything if we don't have more like-minded people on there. So if you can support me, visit my website, visit the other guys as well. Yeah.
Thank
Perfect.
you
Yeah,
so much for having you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you guys. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right. Yeah.